Welcome back to Midnight Signal AI. Today is June 16th, 2026, and we're tracking a day where Claude keeps showing up in courtrooms, classrooms, benchmarks, and boardrooms.
Yeah, it's one of those episodes where the model story is bigger than just a launch. We've got policy pressure, enterprise adoption, and a few reminders that capability gains still come with real-world friction.
Let's start with the most consequential thread, Anthropic and the fallout around its Claude family, because today's headlines make the business and the geopolitics feel tightly linked.
The key thing is that this isn't just a product withdrawal headline. Once a model becomes a national security or export control issue, every enterprise buyer starts asking who can turn it off, when, and under what rules.
Exactly, and the legal IT insider framing matters because legal and compliance workflows are some of the most sensitive. If a model is seen as unstable in that environment, the risk isn't theoretical. It touches deadlines, discovery, and client trust.
It also raises a broader question for frontier labs. Can you still scale a premium AI product if government policy can change the available model stack midstream? That's a hard message to sell to CIOs.
Speaking of pressure points, Anthropic is also dealing with a very different kind of pushback today, this time from users who say the Claude Max limits don't match the marketing.
That's a classic AI business problem now. The product is powerful, but if the usage model feels unpredictable, the buyer starts feeling like the bill is the only guaranteed thing.
Right, and in AI, usage limits aren't a tiny footnote anymore. They shape whether developers build around the tool, how often teams rely on it, and whether a paid tier feels premium or just rationed.
It also lands in a week when people are already unusually sensitive to Anthropic's policies, so even a narrow lawsuit can have a bigger reputation effect than the legal filing alone suggests.
Next up, a very different Anthropic story, and one that looks more like a talent pipeline and brand-building move. CodePath is teaming with Anthropic on Claude Core.
This is the quieter but strategically important kind of story. Frontier model companies don't just need users, they need the next generation of builders to reach for their tools first.
And CodePath makes sense as a partner because it already sits close to early career technical talent. If Claude becomes part of that learning path, Anthropic gets more than awareness, it gets habit formation.
Which is why these partnerships matter even when they don't move quarterly revenue immediately. They can shape what feels default in a few years, especially in enterprise hiring and junior developer workflows.
Switching gears to the courtroom again, xAI got a win today when a U.S. judge dismissed its trade secret claims against OpenAI over the alleged Grok data leak.
That's a meaningful reset. Even when the factual dispute is messy, courts tend to reward crisp allegations and visible harm. If xAI couldn't clear that bar, the case weakens fast.
And it's another reminder that model competition is no longer just benchmarks and demos. Data handling, training provenance, and internal access controls are becoming part of the competitive map.
Also, for a company like xAI, every legal story feeds into the broader perception of speed versus discipline. Investors and enterprise buyers read both.
Now for a benchmark story that's worth paying attention to, because it's not about one product, it's about how we judge agents at all. WorkBench Revisited says the best agent today, Claude Opus 4.8, made a huge leap over 2024.
This is one of the most useful papers in the batch, honestly. It says progress is real, but it also says the easy mistakes are only partly gone, and in business settings, the remaining errors are the expensive ones.
Exactly. An 89% completion rate sounds strong, but the paper's point is sharper than that. Even a small error rate can still produce irreversible harm. That's the part executives should hear.
And the open weight angle matters too. If performance at a prior premium tier is getting cheaper, then the commercial moat shifts from raw capability to reliability, deployment, and support.
Speaking of deployment, OpenAI is still pushing hard on enterprise distribution. Today it launched the OpenAI Partner Network, and the pitch is all about helping partners accelerate adoption, transformation, and deployment.
That's a very mature move from OpenAI. The headline isn't just the $150 million, it's the recognition that enterprise AI sells better when implementation is packaged, not improvised.
Right. In practice, the buyer often wants an integrator, a migration path, training, and change management. Partner networks turn a model into a program, and that's where a lot of real budget lives.
It also puts pressure on rivals. If your competitors are building ecosystems while you're still selling raw access, you can end up looking underbuilt even with a strong model.
Next, there's a follow-on from the enterprise push we've been watching in Asia. SK Hynix is weighing ChatGPT for work as OpenAI expands its Korean enterprise presence.
The symbolism here is strong. If a major memory chip player seriously evaluates ChatGPT for work, that's not just about productivity, it's about whether frontier AI is becoming normal inside highly technical companies.
And South Korea is a meaningful testbed. The market is sophisticated, fast-moving, and demanding on quality. Enterprise traction there can signal whether the product is ready for a more exacting global buyer.
It also underscores how the frontier race has moved past demos. The real question now is who turns model capability into an operating layer inside actual businesses.
We'll close with one more model story that could matter for the global open model conversation. Rio de Janeiro has unveiled Rio 3.5 Open 397 billion, positioning it as a challenger to ChatGPT and Claude.
A 397 billion model is a serious statement, but the real test is whether it can be used, supported, and iterated on. That's where a lot of ambitious launches either become ecosystems or disappear into press coverage.
And if nothing else, it shows how global this race has become. The frontier story is no longer only about Silicon Valley labs. Governments, regions, and local industry players are all trying to define their own AI stack.
That feels like a very robot way to be practical, not just asking, can it do the task, but can it know when to slow down and double-check itself? And probably a lot safer, too. The more a system can sense uncertainty and react to it, the less we rely on hoping the same control loop works everywhere. So instead of just slapping more surfaces on a plane and calling it a day, the system has to intelligently arbitrate between them. That's a very more tools, more problems situation.
Right, and the interesting part is the paper is trying to keep that arbitration interpretable. In safety-critical systems, you do not want a controller that only works because a giant model says so. You want something engineers can inspect, debug, and certify. If this line of work keeps paying off, it could be a nice bridge between modern learning-based control and the old-school need for trust.
It's wild how AI chip now can mean everything from a giant data center board to the processor inside a laptop you carry to a coffee shop. The market keeps shrinking the distance between headline AI and ordinary computing. Inference is the part people use all day, every day. So if NVIDIA is strengthening there, that's a big moat. It means the competition is no longer only about raw performance, it's about who owns the operational layer of AI. Anytime an AI starts predicting gold, you know we're somewhere between finance, prophecy, and internet theater. Honestly, that's a surprisingly fun place to end the show. Across today's stories, two themes really stand out. First, frontier AI is getting pulled into governance, lawsuits, and procurement scrutiny. Second, the business model is shifting towards ecosystems, training, and enterprise trust. The models themselves keep getting stronger, but the surrounding machinery is what decides how far they actually travel.
That's the signal for today. Keep watching the policy, the partners, and the benchmarks, because that's where the next big change will show up first. This has been your Midnight Signal. See you in 24 hours.